into this presentation, which is how the most popular version of the Quran today is actually unreliable according to Islamic scholars' own standards. So this should be fun. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Exactly. Yeah, so thanks so much for having us on. We are a little congested right now, just fighting off the end of a
Ha!
cold.
You ain't the only one. Look at these cough drops right here. No one has
Oh
more.
wow.
No one has more cough drops than me right beside him.
Yeah, you got us beat. You got us beat with those. Yes, so we sound a little nasally, but yes, I'm Jai, and this is DOC, and we have a ministry where we focus on reaching out to Muslims. Also, we have a heart to reach out to rabbinic Jews as well, but we really focus on reaching out to Muslims. Daughter of Christ, she'll introduce herself, but she's a former Muslim, and we both speak Arabic, and we just have a heart and passion to reach out to the Muslim people. The last stream that we did with David.
One second. Was I correct when I talked to you? When I talked to you previously, that you've also studied Hebrew?
Oh yes, yeah, Hebrew. Yeah, so yeah, Hebrew. A little bit of background. Really just like love languages, and so yeah, Hebrew, Arabic, and we try to utilize that in our ministry as well when we reach out to different groups, going to like original languages and stuff, and uh, helping also provide translations for things that Muslims may have mistranslated or just don't translate. So yeah, we last stream we covered 7 different variant Quranic readings. Busted that whole myth of there being one Quran, and we showed contradictions. We showed things that change Islamic law, jurisprudence. Like Muslims will often say, the differences. Well, first they have to get past that level of there's no differences at all. Once they get past that, they say, okay, there are differences, but they just complement each other. And we showed how you even have Muslim scholars who say, actually, no, there's contradictions between the readings. Actually, there's errors, there's mistakes. And so that stream, we focused on that. We gave about 7 different examples. But yeah, so here is Daughter of Christ with...
Hello, I'm Daughter of Christ, and I am from the Middle East. I'm Arabic speaking. I'm a native. I came to the Lord Jesus Christ from Islam about 7 years ago. I had my schooling split between the West and the Middle East. So I am fluent in Arabic and English. I worked with Sister Hatun on Hadithia Ministries, translating Arabic sources for a few years. And I have Sister Hatun's testimony that those translations were never even once opposed by Muslims or challenged by Muslims ever. When we translate, I do it very literally, so that we do our best to be faithful to translations. So they cannot be challenged. Basically,
there's no wiggle room for the Muslims.
We pray over those translations. We go over them lots of times. And when myself and Jai joined forces, I saw that there was a need for translation for the qira'at differences, the differences between Arabic Qur'ans that affect the meaning.
Yes, and so that's really how it started for us as well. We joined forces, and through God's grace, we ended up actually getting married. And so we are married, and we are doing ministry together. So yeah, that's a little bit about us and what we discussed last time.
Hey, and so all you young guys out there who are wondering how you're going to get along in this world and get married and get a family, sounds like learn a bunch of languages and get involved in apologetics and polemics and stuff, and then you'll find the person for you. Is that about right?
That sounds right. Yeah. I mean, is that how you did it, David? Or?
I actually tell people that because when I share my testimony, I was in an airport arguing with Nabil. We were going on a trip. I was in the airport arguing with Nabil about the resurrection, and this other student comes up to us, starts arguing with us both, saying we're both right. Right, saying we're both right. Now, and so we went crazy. We're like, wait a minute. I'm saying Jesus rose from the dead. He's saying Jesus didn't rise from the dead. One of us is right, the other's wrong. There's no situation here where we're both right about this, unless you're Aristotle's nemesis and you don't believe in the law of contradiction. Anyway, well, what she was pointing out is, if it's true for you, it's a true for you kind of thing. If you believe that, then it's true for you kind of nonsense. But she was an agnostic, but like a friendly agnostic, just believe whatever you want and so on. Anyway, yep, did tons of apologetics. Did tons of apologetics. 2 weeks later, she was a Christian, and 2 months later, we were engaged. So yeah, that was my wife. So I tell people that. I tell people that at the end. And I go, guys, so you see, apologetics can get you the girl of your dreams.
Yeah, definitely seek God first, and you'll be amazed.
And all those things will be
very
added
surprised
to you.
what God brings. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So don't know if you want to say anything here, but you guys are in the UK. Daughter of Christ is an ex-Muslim. Does that have something to do with you guys not showing your faces in streams and so on? Just in case anyone's wondering.
Yeah.
Sadly, the religion of pieces has some. You've been to the UK. You've seen how much of a stronghold it is under Islam.
Yeah, and how quickly you get recognized, and how word spreads. So basically, for that reason, and for also other reasons, we while we're here in the UK, but God may have other plans for us in the future. So we may not always be like this, but for now we're just kind of.
We'll do a big reveal one day.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah, because I was over there. It was way worse than I thought. I didn't know how bad it is over there for ex-Muslims. Yeah. It seems especially now. This is just from the several people that I talked to. So there are way more people who could give input. But based on the several people I talked to, it seems especially people from the Pakistani community who are ex-Muslims are just violently attacked. And they have to flee, and the police don't want to help them because they don't want to get on the wrong side of the Pakistani Muslim community. And it really sounded like a parallel to the grooming gang situation, where the police know what's going on. They don't want to intervene because that would be to acknowledge that there's a problem, and it would be to take a side on the problem. And they just don't want to do that. But that's what it sounded like. Because I did some recordings with a couple of these guys. I'll be posting these here in the next couple of days. But it's bad. It's like, I'm in the U.S. It would be unheard of. It would be unheard of in the U.S. for police to be putting up with what they're putting up with from Muslims persecuting ex-Muslims right there in the UK. So that's it. One follow-up question. So you're saying that you're not showing your faces. It's a safety concern because ex-Muslim in an area where people very quickly recognize people from the internet. I've been telling people we got recognized way more over there than I do over here. I get recognized like once or twice a month in the US in various places. Over there, we were recognized multiple times per day, every day, by Muslims and non-Muslims. So everywhere we went, doors, as soon as people saw us, they were like, hey, you're from YouTube, stuff like that. So people are paying attention to what goes online. But anyway, hypothetical. Suppose you were to move to the US. Would you then be comfortable enough to like show your faces and stuff?
Yes, and we definitely prayed about that, and we are very comfortable with that. It's really just the dynamic of living here, and plus some family that is obviously still Muslim, and other things, jobs and things like that as well, that just really complicated if we were to publicly just show our faces. But if we're in America and we are we don't have a problem. Nothing would be holding us back. In that way.
If you think of a lone female who leaves Islam, then gets married to a Christian, apostate, if you think of the honor sort of related things, people can get very upset about that kind of thing.
Oh, very. I was just going to say, and just from experience wise, they have a problem with the marriage too. Like Nabil's parents had a big problem with him getting married to a Christian woman, because it was like they still had hope that he was going to return to Islam. And then when he marries a Christian woman, it's like he's taking an extra step, which was going to make it even more difficult for him to come back to Islam. Exactly. And so it was like, it was heartbreaking for them that he was getting married to a Christian woman. So So yeah. All
Yeah,
right. Anyway.
they don't even know they don't even know
we've
about
actually
me
kept that secret.
because they've cut contact from Daughter of Christ like many years ago, so we don't have any contact with them, so they don't even know that I exist, and so it would just create other problems as well. We're not ashamed of it or anything; they just don't have any contact with us. So yeah,
it's very weird dynamics, very weird, very strange.
Hey guys, so what do you think? Should we should all these should these like ex-Muslims and so on, should we start crowdfunding them to come to the US and get started over here where they could be safe? I think that's a good idea. We could have a big rescue shop where we take everyone who's at risk of persecution over there, take them to a nice safe place here in the US. Yeah.
Someone is saying I'm people of the book. I'm not people of the book. I'm an apostate.
Yeah.
The difference.
Is it a Muslim saying that?
No, this lady, Tara Mora. There's a different ruling for apostates.
Yeah, apostates so a Muslim that becomes a Christian, for example, is not a person of the book. They're called an apostate.
A person of the book is the one who gets born into a family, a Christian or Jewish family.
So it looks like people are saying yes, we should go ahead and get everyone out of there.
Get all the ex-Muslims out.
Yeah, I like that idea. At least the ones that would be doing awesome research over here. So people are saying yes.
Well,
maybe move you and Anthony Rogers and God Logic in and move us out. Do a swap.
One more thing before we start.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because you guys are talking about translating and so on. How much different is it for some of the more like classical works, like if you're reading the Hadith or something like that, or history about Tabari or something like that? How, because I know language changes over time. So how difficult is it to translate that sort of thing?
Yeah, so there's like you said, there's different levels. Like the Quran is at a certain level of Arabic, but even within the Quran itself, you see like different like levels of Arabic. Some of it is like more poetic, others is like just kind of more sloppy or put together. So, but yeah, then you have like Hadith.
Liar. It's all perfect.
Yeah, it's all perfect. Then you have like Hadith literature, and then you have commentaries, which it's not the same style, but you're gonna have similarities with like grammatical constructions and things like that, vocabulary, but it's not gonna be in like the same kind of style that the Quran is in. But yeah, it's definitely different than like modern Arabic today. Like if you pick up a newspaper today and you read that, it's going to be different than like like you said, picking up a commentary from like the 10th century or something.
But it's not unknowable. It's not, if you have good education in Fusha, which is the classical Arabic, you can read it. And you can understand it. Arabic is not this mystical language that can never be translated.
That's how Muslims try to portray it.
It's not at all. Whatever you can say in English, you can say in Arabic. And there are different styles. Like if you read Shakespeare, it's different from if you read a newspaper today, but you still understand it. You may need to look up a couple of words, but you still get it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to demystify, this mystical language. There's nothing mystical about it at all.
And I was asking that because I don't remember the exact year, but you're talking like 2007 or 2008. So you're in the 2007 to 2008 range. And Nabil and I, we actually sat down and wrote down a list of things that we wanted to accomplish before we're done. Things that we thought were like important to get done. So like he wanted to write an autobiography of his journey and stuff like that. So he actually did that. I don't have that list. He had it, so I have no idea where it is. So I don't remember what's on it, except for a couple of things that we actually did. But I remember one thing on there that we agreed we wanted to do that we never did. And that was, we wanted to get Ibn Abi Dawud's Kitab al-Masahif translated so that people would have it in English. Because that's where, when people ask where we find out about. So anyway, everyone who's watching, Ibn Abi Dawud, that's the son of the Hadith collector, Abu Dawud. And he put together a giant book on differences in the Quran, like differences between Ibn Masud's Quran and Ubay ibn Ka'b's Quran and the Zayd ibn Thabit. Yeah, so he put together lists of those and disagreements they have. So when we talk about Ibn Masud having 111 chapters in his Quran and Ubay having 116 and Zayd putting 114 in his, that comes from Ibn Abi Dawud's Kitab al-Masahif. And so that's one thing, since it's just loaded with Quran differences. It's one more like nail in the coffin of this perfect preservation myth, and shows just how sloppy the early process was. Anyway, guys, is that something where a team could be assembled to translate that at some point, and then we put it out?
Yeah, I've actually translated portions of it for Sister Atun. It's very easy to translate because it's repetitive. Because they say, oh, so and so narrated this, and then they say so and so narrated this, and it's a word difference. So you actually, it's actually the same thing over a few pages, but with just different narrators.
And a lot of times they'll have like different hadith about like, oh, compilation of the Quran, or what did Ibn Masud think about his rejection of it, and like different chapters. So yeah, I've me as well. We've just looked at this and we've translated certain like portions of it. But yeah, definitely that's something that's doable.
It's very doable.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm hearing is get these guys out of the crap hole UK into a nice safe spot where concealed carrying firearms is perfectly legal. And so you guys can walk around totally strapped in case a jihadi ever decides to mess with you. And you could be translating all of these important works that still need to be translated. All right. Sounds like a little plan. We'll discuss that later. All right. But let's go ahead and go ahead and jump into it.
All right, cool. So just kind of as an introduction or some like kind of preliminary comments, Muslims, they talk about this chain of narration that we have. We have this reliable chain that takes us from today all the way back to Muhammad. They say like, we can trace not just hadith, but actually the Qurans have this chain as well. So if you open up a Quran, Arabic Qurans, they start with this chain. They say it was from this person to this person to this person to this person to the companions to Muhammad. And so everything in Islam has this chain of narration, hadith or Quran. And so with that, just kind of a little bit of background, I want to play a clip here from Ali Dawah, because he expresses this through the means of a sheikh that he's translating or speaking, and he kind of gives his feedback. But it's really important because he emphasizes that this is like the basis of Islam, the basis of the religion, this chain of narration. So it starts with the sheikh kind of like reading, I learned it from this person, from this person. It's kind of boring and repetitive, so I cut a lot of that stuff out, but check this out. Let's start with the clip here. Let's go.
So you see, as the sheikh's going along, you were talking about, possibly, when I say in every century there's a name, because obviously there was maybe in that century you would have maybe 2-3 people living, but you can see where it's going. And if I'm not mistaken, it's quoted from his teacher, that from his teacher is going all the way back to the Prophet ﷺ. This is fundamental to our religion. Watch this. SubhanAllah, the only thing I memorized is probably a recipe how to make a milkshake. So everything that is quoted, the chain of transmission going all the way down to Bukhari, and from Bukhari, so there is specific chains in Bukhari where the chain is like very short. There's 2 to 3 people between Bukhari, Imam Bukhari, may Allah have mercy on him, and the Prophet, peace be upon him. Some of them, I think they refer to this as a golden chain. Yeah. Okay. So basically, there's 3 people in between them. And what was the hadith? So now he's mentioned the chain and he's mentioned the hadith. What's the hadith? This is very important, guys. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever says upon me that which I did not say, then let him take his seat in the fire. That anyone that says something that the Prophet didn't say, intentionally let him take his place in the fire, because you're lying against the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this is very profound, because the whole point of the chain of transmission that we have, be it from Bukhari, Muslim, Abu
Can you pause
Dawud,
this for a second?
Yes.
I'm trying to anticipate where this is going, but he's saying you got a problem basically with liars who would say something false about Muhammad. And if you're that kind of person, then you're going to the fire. So I'm
You
anticipate. I'm
already got it,
anticipate.
man.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure I was thinking ahead there. All right, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, man, you already nailed it. All right, so here we go. Let's it's almost done here. Here we go.
And one more, what is it, Sheikh? Nisai, yes. So the 6th book of Hadith, yeah? So what we learn from this, brothers and sisters, that our religion is based on this transmission.
All right, so there we go. The Islam is based on this transmission. This
Islam
chain of
is
transmission-
based. You see, it's based.
Yeah, not that type of based. Yeah, but so yeah, but then like you said, the hadith itself is very important as well, because this hadith actually says that if anyone lies about Muhammad, then that person, saying he said something he didn't say, then that person will have their place in the hellfire. So it's very important. And just want to, before we get into what the scholars say about the chain of narration, the chain of transmission in relation to the Quran, let's focus on this here. And this is just like by the way, this is actually an AI generated picture. AI is getting pretty good. So
yeah, I want to learn that. Everyone's coming up with these dope thumbnails and stuff like that. I'm like, oh man, you must have like this brilliant graphics guy making you that. And they're like, no, I said, hey, Chat GPT, make me a graphic, and it took 10 seconds. I'm like,
exactly. What? I said, I was like, hey, just make me an angry Muslim waving his fist. And so that's what they did. So yeah, so I have the Muslim here very angrily waving his fist. Weak hadith. And so the question is, what do Muslims mean when they say hadith is weak, or it's unreliable, untrustworthy, or it's fabricated? What do they mean by that? So the answer is that hadiths are graded off of the reputation of the narrators of the hadith and not based on the content of the hadith. So, and that's another AI picture, by the way, as well. He's supposed to be grading some papers there. So hadith is graded based off of the narrators who narrate it, not based off of the contents. Okay, it's really important. So I have some quotes here. One from Shadi Nasser, and he says, "It suffices to say that hadith scholarship paid more attention to the isnad, which is the chain of transmission, than the matan, which is the content of hadith, despite some documented attempts to not completely ignore the latter." And so we have a quote here from Jonathan Brown, who is a fan of yours. I don't know if you know he's a fan of yours.
Well, he retweets me quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got him here. He's a big fan of yours. He said that whatever you say, you're right
Yeah,
about
let's read
it.
that. Yeah, read that whole thing at the bottom.
Okay, so I just Googled David Wood, and I'd just like to say he's 100% right about anything he says, and I agree 100%, and am 100% compliant. No arguments from me. I'm just part of the woodwork. Carry on with the wonderful stuff you do.
Now, in case anyone wonders about that, so this is he's a convert to Islam. He's an Islamic scholar. I have books by him on my bookshelves. But I came up somehow, and he says he Googled me, and this is a joke. This is a joke. He's basically saying he looked up my criminal background and my mental health history, and he's saying it. David's 100% right. He's right about everything he says. So that's actually pretty funny. It's a funny comment in an area where lots of people don't have a sense of humor. So hats off to him there. But go ahead.
So yes, he's a big fan of yours. This Muslim scholar here, and he says here, Shadi Nasser references him in his book, and he says that the subjectivity of content criticism, where what may seem logical to one could be illogical and incomprehensible to another, was what led Muslim scholars to employ more objective methods for evaluating and authenticating hadiths, namely isnad criticism, chain of transmission criticism, and cross-examination of transmitters. So what he's saying here is that if you are to judge a hadith purely by the content, like what does it say, then that can differ between who's the one doing the grading. Like to David Wood, he might say, hey, this contradicts the Quran, but someone else might say, oh, no, I think it actually lines up with the Quran. So he's saying that's kind of like a method that the Muslim scholars, they just kind of abandoned because they saw it was too subjective. So they try to come up with a more objective way to grade hadith and say, okay, what we're going to do is now we're not going to judge based on the content. We're going to judge based off of the narrators. Like, are they reliable? Are they trustworthy?
And so the Sirah guys like Ibn Asaq and so on, they had a bit of a different methodology from the Hadith guys who consolidated power around themselves. But you could see it even there. I mean, the version of Ibn Ishaq we have is from Ibn Hisham, and he says he took out embarrassing material. So that would have been a situation where he's not grading something based on how historically reliable it is, or how much the evidence that he has for a chain of transmission. He's saying this is a messed up story, so I'm taking this out. So the content is embarrassing. So I guess they had the parallel issue with the Hadith guys, in that if you're just grading based on the story, well, different people are going to have a problem with different stories. In fact, regionally they would have. Joshua Little talks a bit about this in his his thesis is on the hadiths about the age of Aisha, but he has a long section going through hadith criticism. But he argues that early on, Islam was basically, you had regional versions of Islam. So they all believed in like prayer, they all believed in certain basics and so on. But you go to one area and they teach that mutta is okay. You go to a different area and they teach that mutta is forbidden and so on. And so notice, if you were looking at a hadith about mutta, just based on the region you're in, you might grade it as weak or strong based on your personal beliefs about whether mutta is still allowed and so on. So it would be a problem basing it on the content. So what you're saying is, in order to do away with the problem of different people not liking or liking certain kinds of content, or being in an area where that content would be acceptable and another area where it wouldn't be.
Exactly. Yeah, that seems to be what Jonathan Brown and Shad Nasser conclude. And so kind of what they do. And we could compare that to other ways of history and like what we would think about that as Christians, but this is what the Muslims have done. So let's see if we apply this method of narrator criticism, like people transmitting information via hadith, sayings of Muhammad, or traditions. How do you judge the trustworthiness of these things? Well, you go by the narrators, the transmitters. So when you apply that scholarship to the transmitters of the Quran, what do you come up with? So first, before we get into that though, I want to say, like, this is a question. So what do they use? What standards do they use to determine this guy's reliable, this guy's not reliable? And so they
hang on. That's important.
What do you?
No, that's important. I want everyone to make sure of that, what you just did right there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
To recap, because some people just understood everything you said. Some people come along, they're very new to all this, and so they're confused by what's a hadith and so on. So just to make sure everyone understood what you just said, you are first talking about hadiths and how they came up with their hadith methodology. Some people were assessing the reliability of hadith using a very subjective methodology, whether they find the content personally acceptable or their version of Islam that's in their head. They're judging the reliability of hadiths very subjectively. So you're going to get completely different answers on whether a hadith is reliable, depending on who you ask and what that person happens to believe. So they came up with a methodology that's more objective. Here's a list of names, and we have a list of names of reliable people. So if the people in the isnad, if the people in the chain of transmission are all reliable, that's how you decide whether a hadith is reliable, not just based on the content, which you may or may not like. So it's a more objective method. And then what you're saying is, since they have this objective method that they finally agreed upon with hadith criticism, namely that you look at the chain of transmission and the list of names to make sure every person on that list is reliable. And if you've got unreliable people on there, you've got a problem. You basically have a weak narration because you have weak narrators. You're saying now we're going to apply their same methodology to the transmission of the Quran, because the Quran went from person to person to person, so that you could say, I got this reading from so-and-so, who got it from so-and-so, who got it from so-and-so. And you're saying what happens when we apply the exact same criteria that they came up with for objectively judging the reliability of content. Let's take their objective method for assessing the reliability of content. Let's apply the exact same method to their chains of transmission of the Quran. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Let's just pause right there because we do have a few super chats. I don't want them to get built up. So we'll go through a couple super chats real quick and then jump right back into what we're talking about there.
All right.
Shiba Dog clapping his hands. They still don't show us the super stickers. They just describe them for us.
Oh, I thought someone was saying that. Okay.
D Wood, if Sinwar really believes in Jannah, why is he afraid to die and in a tunnel? Is he faking? That is kind of an issue where these guys, we love death more than they love life, and then they run and hide in tunnels to avoid dying. I think you could justify it from that perspective. Like, I want to accomplish more in my life before I go. But yeah, the more they hide, the I don't know, the more doubts you have about how much they really love death. So they can defend it, but yeah, especially, but I'm a billionaire. I don't want to die.
Exactly.
Jenna is here for me. But Dr. Wood, because you're on time, I'm late. Yeah, that's how it works. When AP's not around, when no Turkish dudes are involved, this is what happens. Before you start, can any of you prove you're medical doctors? No, sadly. It's only the mighty Zakir Naik who can do that. No comment from Nuwan there. Sheikh Mike Winjelinge says, David, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but that person sounds like a woman. Once again, I beg you to buy a whiteboard and stop disrespecting Allah. Yeah, Jai, you're gonna have to get a whiteboard for Daughter of Christ. We won't be able to see. We won't be able to see it.
Yeah.
You can't see my face now. You can't hear my voice.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Sneeko saw that Ali Dawa thing where he did it with his wife,
and he did a parody of it.
Yeah, he did it. Sneeko did a parody of that where he got this girl in full niqab and not his wife, just some girl, and he admitted, yeah, this is mixing, right? This is like, they're not allowed to
mixing,
like
yeah.
Remixing. Yeah, so he admitted that part, but then he actually just gave this girl a whiteboard and he started asking her questions, and he was
mocking it.
Yeah, he was definitely making fun of it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
These are good times, fun times.
Good times.
Wait, so all I have to do is get a wife? Wait, so all I have to do to get a wife is to humiliate a female in public debate? Noted. Thanks for the tip, David. I guess he's talking about me and Nabil. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep. Isaiah 53. Let's see.
Nice.
D Wood, I watch you, whatever show you're on. Quick question. Why is your camera angle different on Jihad Watch? It's been bothering me. When Robert sends me, people use different programs. When Robert sends me the link, for some reason, the program is not recognizing my camera. And it's just, I have a totally tricked out, awesome laptop, but I have an old desktop that I only use for live streaming. And so certain things just aren't recognized in the system and so on, and certain things don't work. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I eventually just have to get a new desktop, but since I only use it for live streaming, it's kind of like last on the list of things that I need to do. But eventually I'll get a new tricked out desktop and then everything should work swimmingly. A couple more here. Crowdfunding is a yes. I support this. Yes, crowdfunding makes everything awesome. Where is the legendary AP? What does the GOAT say? AP will be on. I'll be on with AP later. We have our live stream at our regular time. Did want to get this in because they're in the UK and it's an earlier time, so this worked out for this. And the GOAT says this. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. God bless you all, DOC and Jai. Thank you for the work you do. Love your channel. Subscribe, everyone. Saw some of this on Avery's stream. Blew my mind. Yeah, I have a link to Jai and DOC's channel in the description box. Be sure to subscribe and check out their stuff. They're ripping apart. And guys, I always say we gotta be relentless, right? Because every time we expose a lie, they come up with a new lie. And it feels like you're Dawa whack-a-mole with every new lie. Every time we refute a lie, they just come up with a new lie.